What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
I'm the owner of Deliver Eats. It's
Okay.
a local food delivery business.
How's that?
It's challenging.
How so?
Um, Mostly the employees.
Mm-hmm.
Having people, it's really hard to find reliable people. Um, and that's it. Thanks. That's all our time we have on the podcast today. And I'll see you next week.
Sounds great.
No, it's just hard finding people to show up and work right now.
Totally.
It would be a lot easier if I had some reliable, consistent people. But it's kind of what everyone's going through right now in town, it seems. So yeah, I do that. And see, what did I do today? I play music around town.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I play the ukulele and the mandolin, some piano, and sing.
Wow.
And I do lighting. This last weekend, I was doing a music festival out in Sagal. Summerfest, cool event. I did some wake surfing today.
Nice.
The highlight of my day for sure.
And I understand that you're engaged too.
I am engaged. I have a beautiful fiancé. We just got gelato.
No, gelato. You have a busy schedule.
Always.
How do you manage all that?
With the calendar app on my phone.
Calendar app. That's smart.
Try to make my schedule as flexible as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Do kind of a weekly planning. Try not to plan too many things more than a week out. And patience.
Patience. I like it.
A lot of patience.
What made you start your business?
Well, I lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with the owner of the Hive, which is just across the street here.
Mm-hmm.
We had a software company called Beeswax. That was a program for managing and operating music venues. And I'd been working on that for about 2.5, 3 years when COVID hit and kind of shut everything down.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the process of doing a pretty big fundraising kick, and it was just not a good time to be trying to do anything in the music space, especially music venues.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of free time. I was talking with my neighbor, and he said I should start a food delivery business.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, man, Ben, if you start a food delivery business, I'll use you every day.
Does he use you every day?
No, but he does. He does use Deliver Eats frequently.
Okay.
So yeah, it was kind of just, guess that would have been March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So right as COVID was, starting to really lock in.
Mm-hmm.
It just made a lot of sense, especially in a small town like Sandpoint where there was no competition on the delivery front. And I started looking into it, and the numbers made sense, and I had the skill set, so I thought, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. I've always wanted to own my own company, and this seems like a good opportunity as any. So I dove into it, and now it's over a year. I've been working on Deliver Eats, really kind of launched in earnest in November. It's been ups and downs.
Ups and downs. Are you in a down or up right now?
I hope I'm on the upside of a down.
Upside of a down.
Hope so. Yeah. I thought that summer would be a better season for delivery than I think in reality it actually is. I think a lot of people want to get out and be outside of their house and, be doing stuff in the summertime. And it's actually more popular to do delivery in the wintertime when it's cold and grumpy outside and you don't want to leave.
Totally.
So yeah, I'm just I'm a bit worn out with it. When I started the company, I guess maybe it's not realistic, but I want to get to that point where things are just kind of running smoothly, where I'm not trying to, solve a fire every day. And I just hoped I would get to that point faster. But it seems like that happens a lot in life, is the time frame in your brain is much quicker than it is in reality.
That's very true. Very true. What was your childhood like?
Amazing.
Amazing?
Awesome childhood, yeah.
How so?
Grew up on the lake,
Uh-huh.
right out in Sagal. 2 siblings. Older sister, younger brother. A couple dogs. Great parents.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's a marital therapist in town. Dad is a real estate broker. But mostly just loves to have fun. Did a ton of skiing growing up. Always on the mountain. Water skiing in the summertime. Played soccer. Yeah. Especially as I've gotten older and talked to other people about what their childhood was like, I'm like, phew, I did just fine for myself.
Totally. What got you into music?
I started playing music when I was 4. I want to say 4. Maybe it was 8 though. Mom had a rule. It was required to play music from 4 until, or from 8, it must have been 8 until I think 12 or 13 you could stop. So I played the drums for 4 years. I played the piano for a year. Played the clarinet for a year. And then I kind of decided to focus on soccer. And then I started playing the ukulele when I was 18. Was at a bake sale for my Model United Nations class.
Mm-hmm.
I was bored, very bored.
Mm-hmm.
Walked over to a friend's house to make myself a sandwich.
Nice.
And he had a ukulele just kind of sitting on his desk. And I was like, well, it's a school event. I don't feel like anyone can yell at me for playing a musical instrument.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be like something to pass the time.
Totally.
And printed off some tabs for like Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And just sat there for a couple hours during the bake sale and worked on it, and just I fell in love. It's like, this thing's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Fun, portable, sounds great. So I bought one, and I've been playing ever since. That was 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you pursue music more than your delivery eats?
Well, it's always a fear that if you have something that you really love doing, and you convert that into your profession, puts a lot of pressure on that.
Totally.
And then it becomes a job. And you know, music is like a form of meditation to me a lot of times. And it's fueled by inspiration and emotion, and it's not really what I associate with work. So, I'll play gigs around town. I played a gig up at the St. Bernard this last Saturday, and I try and do about one to 2 gigs a month.
Mm-hmm.
I like the motivation and the pressure that playing for people puts on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little bit of pressure forces me to kind of expand and focus in a little bit. But I think I would get pretty worn out if I tried to do that as my full-time profession.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm okay with what it is right now. And if I ever feel the desire to have that be a more significant part of my income stream, I can always act on that.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep my life pretty open and opportunities open.
Totally.
If we were having this conversation a year ago, I didn't think played any live gigs, paid gigs, at that point. So you never know where things are going to take you, or where things are going to end up. But I enjoy my music right where it's at right now.
How much money do you make from music?
I mean,
it's not about the money.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be making money. I can make anywhere from $150 to $250 for a 2 to 3 hour set.
That's really not that bad for a small town.
No, it's great.
Yeah,
It's great. Sandpoint puts a lot of money into music,
totally.
which is awesome. I mean, if you really rationalize what the hourly rate actually is based on your practice time and your
Hmm.
music expenses and all that stuff, I'm really not making much. But um, to me, it's like anything that I'm making from playing music is sweet because I do that out of joy.
Hmm.
And so, just to offset the amount of money that I'm spending on the passion project is sweet.
Totally. What's your favorite kind of music?
To listen to?
Just in general? What does music mean to you? I guess I'd say.
I pretty much always have music running in my head.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's just a part of life, I guess, to me. Um, I very rarely have silence in my life.
Hmm.
Usually have music playing in the background, or I'm singing something, or I'm playing something.
What about your favorite artists?
I was listening to some Carlos Santana today.
Hmm.
Love him. It's very inspirational. Um, I've listened to a lot of Jack Johnson, a lot of John Mayer.
Hmm.
Mm, Early childhood, like Maroon 5, was pretty influential for me as I was kind of in middle school, high
Hmm.
school. Van Morrison, James Taylor, some B.B. King. My dad loves smooth jazz.
Oh yeah, swing jazz is pretty good.
My dad loves smooth jazz,
Uh-huh.
so I can't say that it's my total favorite, but it's definitely had an influence on me. Yeah. Now I just, with Spotify and the wealth of music that's out there, I love my Discover Weekly playlist every week. I have some artists, that I still love their albums and will play them again. Kaleo is kind of a newer artist that I really enjoy.
Hmm.
Um, Paolo Nutini, Bobby Bazzini. Those are also artists that I really like. Kind of a like soulful singing, kind of upbeat, positive, good instrumentation, powerful vocals. That's kind of
I like it.
that's my
I
vibe.
like it. That's like real, That's not made on a computer, and like there's nothing wrong with that. But like that's just you just feel it in your ears when they are on that mic.
Heck yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like hearing the rawness. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I can get into I can get into a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
But
What did you do after high school?
I went to college. I went down to school in L.A.,
Hmm.
Occidental College. It's a small liberal arts school. It was famous, I guess, at the time and now, um, as the alma mater of Barack Obama
Oh,
for a couple of years. So, especially at the time he was still in office, it was like they were very proud of that.
totally.
Yeah, played soccer there. It was
What'd you study?
soccer, definitely partly. I majored in diplomacy and world affairs.
Hmm.
I minored in Spanish and psychology.
Hmm.
Did a semester abroad in Spain, in
Oh wow.
Granada.
How was that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to live outside the country,
Uh-huh.
especially what's nice about study abroad is it's so structured for you. It's like, okay, here's where you're staying, here's your people, you're going to school here, you can get food here, here's all your stuff. Go ahead, dive in. That was great.
Hmm.
If you ever want to learn a foreign language, you should go to another country.
Totally.
So yeah, I was in LA for 4 years. Did not want to stay there when I graduated.
Why not?
Loved my time there, but such a big city, man.
Hmm. I've been there. It's really something.
Yeah, and I was pretty clear that I wasn't about that lifestyle.
Hmm.
I went to a school that was its own little bubble.
Mm-hmm.
It was at a very kind of insular campus, and it was filled with people from, mostly the Pacific Northwest. You had a bunch of people from Seattle, Portland, parts of California. You had some East Coast people, but it was like generally pretty privileged,
Mm-hmm.
like upper middle class kids in a small like Lux campus
Mm-hmm.
that happened to be in Los Angeles. So it had very much a small town feel to it. Los Angeles does not have a small town feel. And, I saw, and I guess maybe this is giving myself too much credit at the time because I've got years of looking back, but seeing how it's kind of caused people who stayed in Los Angeles to change. It's just a lot of hustle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard place to make it. You got to work really hard. It's pretty cutthroat. You don't really get anywhere by being nice to people.
That's very true.
In fact, kind of the opposite. If you want to get to the place where you want to be, you kind of have to step all over and climb a staircase of the dead bodies that you leave behind.
Totally.
That is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can go other places. I don't
Totally.
have to be here. So I ended up in Portland, Oregon. Kind of got ushered there by some family friends who gave me a place to stay for a couple months, and got a job working at Adidas. Their corporate headquarters is in Portland.
That's pretty big.
I was working at the employee store.
Oh, okay.
Doing retail. Literally started at the lowest position possible. I was working like 5:30 to 5:30 a.m. to like 11 in the afternoon in the warehouse, like unpacking boxes. But I slowly worked my way up, and I got out of the warehouse, and I got to start doing retail in the employee store, and that was a huge jump because the employee store is on the corporate campus.
Mm-hmm.
So all the like signed Adidas athletes come in there to get their swag. All the like bigwig corporate guys come in there. I mean, I got to meet a bunch of NBA players, like MMA fighters, rappers. Everyone comes through the employee store. So it's a pretty cool place to get to be. And it's right on the corporate campus. So I got some cool opportunities to do some stuff at the corporate campus too. Like I was out on my lunch break one time, and there was a guy, like there's a little turf soccer field in the Adidas campus, and there was this guy like kicking a soccer ball and like looking at his phone, and I was just kind of shaking my head at this guy because he didn't look like a good soccer player. So eventually I'm just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm testing this new ball. It's a Bluetooth soccer ball.
Whoa.
I was like, well, cool. Well, like, come on, pass it to me. So I kind of started juggling and like messing around. He's like, oh, you're a soccer player, huh? I was like, well, yeah. So he invited me to like do testing with him on this product. So I would come over after work and do some different product testing stuff. And I eventually got to go into the Timbers soccer stadium and do this like filming of a promo video for this new product. It was sweet. So I got some cool opportunities there, but the idea was to kind of work my way up to eventually like transition over to the corporate side.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was going to take too long, and I got impatient. So I took a job at a corporate events company, Avanta, that did leadership coaching, executive events. And I was there for about 2.5 years. I did some really cool stuff.
Like what?
I started out doing community development, like started again at the bottom, making phone calls, sending out emails, blah, blah, blah. But like a strange coincidence happened that they were starting an information sharing network for cybersecurity. And my final thesis for graduating from college was about creating an information sharing network for cybersecurity. So they said that they were working on this project. I was like, I have this paper about exactly how to do this. So I printed it off and I took it to the CEO one day, and I was like, hey, I heard you guys were working on this. Just thought I'd let you know that I have some expertise, and here's my thesis, and let me know if you need any help. And like a week later, he called me and he's like, hey, we got a new job for you. We're giving you a raise and a promotion, and you're working over here.
Nice.
So I got to do this startup. It was me and one other guy, and we basically built this new company inside of this bigger parent company.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that, I got into working with Salesforce, which is a CRM system, and kind of did some build outs there, and ended up working on I was the project manager for an online learning program. Basically, they had this infrastructure of C-suite executives that went to all their events. And so what they wanted to do was kind of take the learning that all these high-level executives had and condense it into an online curriculum that could then be taught to middle-level managers to help these middle-level managers kind of level up and get to that next level of leadership. The Professional Development Academy. So I was working there, but I just got tired of being in a corporate environment.
Mm-hmm.
Just wasn't really for me.
How come?
It's a lot of like lessening who you are, or hiding parts of yourself to fit into the mold of what is, your work persona.
Yeah, totally.
And to me, what a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like quite literally just faking it during the day. I got exhausted with it, why can't I be who I am and do the things that I want to do and behave the way that I want to? And, had some interactions with the upper management too, where we had made some agreements and they kind of reneged on those agreements, and I lost a lot of faith and they lost credibility with me, and I was like, okay, fine, well, I know that I'm an asset and I know that I can do some sweet stuff and I don't need to be here. So just kind of wrote it out for a little bit, made my plans, and then I quit and spent a year backpacking in South America.
Wow. How was that?
Best decision I ever made.
What'd you do?
I walked a
lot. I like it.
Played a lot of ukulele.
Uh-huh. Where did you go?
Did some crazy adventures.
Uh-huh.
I climbed to 20,000 feet.
Whoa.
In Bolivia, Huayana Potosi. And that was my high point.
Mm-hmm.
My low point, I got my scuba diving license. So was down, I guess, about 60 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a pretty big range of of altitudes. Started in Colombia and traveled by bus, car, train, boat, all the way down to Patagonia.
Mm-hmm.
So northern Argentina.
Did you go by yourself?
Yep.
What were some of the adventures you went on?
Oh, lots of them. I feel like I lived like 10 years in that year, maybe more, maybe 10 lifetimes. Yeah, man. I mean, that's a conversation for a whole nother time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing. If you ever have a chance to take a year for yourself to do whatever the hell you want to do.
Totally. How did you get to do that?
I just decided I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Have a great support network.
Like financially?
I mean, I was smart. I came out of school with debt, like everyone does. I think I had about 30 grand worth of college loans, which could have been worse, but could have been better. But I was just very diligent in paying them off, and I was making a pretty decent salary in Portland, and saved up money and didn't live extravagantly, and so I think I had about $15,000 in my savings account when I quit, and just was frugal as I backpacked and
went to South America.
And I stayed places and did some volunteering, and so I think when I came back to my parents' house 11 months later, I still had about $3,000 in my bank account.
What'd you do then?
I came back to go skiing.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a spring fling pass.
Nice, nice.
And skied and tried to decide what I was going to do. And turned out there was some people that needed some help with some different projects around here. So started kind of doing some technology consulting stuff, basic stuff, helping people fix their computers, like setting up Squarespace websites, simple stuff. And a good friend of mine, Jeff Grady, who's the owner of the Hive, was working on this software project, and I had a lot of the skill sets that he was looking for. So he said, well, why don't you come work for me? So got a job with him, and was doing that, living at my parents' house, working on a software company, helping them out. I started doing construction, built a little cabin out at my parents' house, and turned it into a little Airbnb cabin. And, working on projects, did a couple construction projects on the side, was doing trips with Jeff, trying to sell this company and get it going and build it. And he has, different houses all around town, so I'd spend some time out with him in Hope or up at the mountain while we were working, and traveled a lot. Take a trip every year for my birthday to a country that I've never been to before. So
wow.
Just try to, it was a pretty flexible, low stress job, so I tried to take advantage of it as much as I could, and ended up meeting my fiancé on one of my birthday trips, and been dating her for the last 3.5 years. So a lot of trips to Italy.
How'd you meet your fiancé?
In a nightclub. In a nightclub in Venice on my birthday. In 2018? 2018, is that right? Must be. Yeah, ran into her. I liked her style.
Cool.
So I chatted her up, and there's a whole story there too. But
go into it. I'd love to hear. Unless you don't want to share, of course.
Yeah, I can share. It's been told many times, so the facts may have shifted over time. Yeah, we were I was with my sister. I take one individual on my birthday trip each year. That year happened to be my sister. Flew into Venice and spent the day exploring, and it was the day of my birthday, which is the day before Valentine's Day. It was also during Carnival in Venice, so there was a special pop-up club in the Arsenale, which is the old naval shipbuilding yard, and we cruised out there, and in typical American fashion, I think we were very early. Had to wait at the doors to get in, and there was no one in there when we got in, and the only cocktail they were serving was vodka Red Bulls. I think the event was sponsored by Red Bull, so maybe they got a discount on the Red Bull. So we started dancing and having fun, and we had purchased some Carnival masks during the day, so we had our masks on. And at a certain point, I look across the dance floor, and there's a girl with her back to the stage and her arms crossed and a big scowl on her face. I was a few vodka Red Bulls in, and it was my birthday, and I was having fun. So I'm like, girl's not having any fun. I'm gonna go make her have some fun. So I kind of danced my way over there, and said hi, what's up? Why the long face? And she was grumpy about the fact that it was supposed to be a really good party. She'd heard from friends that past versions had been very epic, and this one was not. And it was apparently filled with young people. She said something like, everyone here is 16 years old, 14 years old. How old are you? And I said, I'm 94. Does that help? Does that offset the average for you? Can you smile a little bit? We just started chatting and then dancing, and then it was time for her to go, so I asked her for her contact information, and she gave me her email address, her phone number, her Facebook account. And I was like, okay, I think she wants me to contact her.
Totally.
So we stayed in touch, and we were taking a trip to Athens and Istanbul, and then coming back to Venice. So we kind of messaged and chatted for the next couple of weeks until I was back in Venice, and then she came and picked my sister and I up for the airport and took us out, and we summarily ditched my sister and went off and had a date that night. And she dropped me off at the airport the next morning, and then like 3 months later she flew to meet up with me in LA, and we just kind of been bouncing back and forth ever since.
Mm-hmm. From someone who's traveled so much in the world, how has your perspective of the world evolved?
Well, it's definitely a slanted view on the world growing up in Sandpoint, Idaho.
Definitely.
In a lot of ways. I grew up living on one of the biggest lakes in the world.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And because of that, I internalized the fact that that's just what people do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how people live. But turns out not everyone lives on the lake. And turns out that there are lots of different people in the world as well.
Yeah.
It's definitely a bit of a limitation on culture in Sandpoint, Idaho. That was a pretty big wake-up call for me going to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Just exposure to different races, different cultures, different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, your mind is going to expand as you get older, I think. I hope. I hope your perspective increases. I guess what's really beautiful about traveling to me is kind of pulls me out of my patterns.
What are your patterns?
Well, we all have our patterns of seeing things and doing things, right? I could walk down First Avenue here and, look in the store windows, but I'm not seeing it the same as if I'm walking down a street in Colombia for the first time, because there's nothing familiar. And when you get out of everything familiar, you pay more attention.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really nice quote about traveling that may or may not be applicable here, but it's that traveling broadens, opens up, expands your mind. Staying in the same place or revisiting the same place adds depth to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, if you can come back to the same spaces with the eyes of a traveler, you're really going to add more depth and richness to your experience. So I guess that's a long way of saying that what traveling does for me is it broadens my mind a little bit, opens up my perspective, shows me that gateway, and hopefully I can bring that back to the places that I spend more of my time and live a more open and aware existence.
Mm-hmm. Is the world doomed? Is it a dark, scary spot? Because I'm sure traveling, you've had both sides of the spectrum of really good experiences and really bad experiences. Do you think the world's doomed?
I really don't ever speak in absolutes.
Uh-huh.
So, doomed? No. The world will find a way to survive.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, there's some nasty stuff going on out there, but I think the way you choose to see it and what you focus on shapes a lot of that too. I mean, I've seen very similar things and been in two different moods and interpreted them completely differently.
Elaborate more.
I mean, I think if you're in a dark spot or or I'm in a dark spot in my life, I'm ready to see a lot more darkness.
Totally.
I'm primed for it, and I'm more willing to it, and I'm kind of saturated in it. If I'm in a good space in my life and feeling positive, grounded, secure, I'm going to be able to feel more positive, share more positivity, and kind of bring that to me. I guess a very simple example I can give you is, okay, I'm walking down a street. It's pretty late at night. I'm in a neighborhood that, maybe isn't that great. Maybe not that terrible, but not that great. I've had a couple drinks, and I see someone kind of shady walking down the street towards me. Okay, so what am I going to do? I can kind of put my head down, shrink a little bit, try not to catch attention, and try and slink by, or maybe I can look up and make eye contact and smile and wave. And generally what I find is if I do the second one and a smile and wave, I actually get a great smile and wave back.
Really?
And changes my whole perspective on that person. Maybe someone that looked intimidating or scary or grumpy, when they smile, all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're a lovely person.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't make that gesture, extend yourself, put yourself out there in a second, say, hey, you know what? I'm feeling good. I feel positive, and I'm going to share that with this person and see what I get back. Well, maybe then you're going to keep that fear with you. You're going to not see that person's going to change. You're not going to see that little spark of kindness inside of them. And you're going to keep that idea in your head that, they're malevolent or going to mess with you or whatever it is.
Totally.
So.
I really like that. Why is there birth?
Why?
Why is there birth? I'm asking you the podcast questions right now.
Because there's death.
Well, that's the next question. Yeah. So here's the whole shebang. Why is there birth? How come it leads to death? And what's the point of the stuff in between?
That's the name of the podcast, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Close, along those lines. Well, obviously, there's no answers for those things. Of course. So I'll caveat all my stuff with that.
Yeah.
Now I get to say whatever the hell I want.
Totally.
To me, it's less important as the why. The why I don't really care so much about the why, because it is. I don't like to get caught up too much on like hypothetical things that I can't solve. I end up frustrated. There is birth, there is death, and those are kind of the rules that we have. So I guess maybe there's a reason why. Is we need some rules. We need structure, because it's really hard to formulate things without structure. I mean, the way we move through life is based on structure. We have bones, and those are influenced by muscles, and they push and pull against each other. Structure is how we move through the world, literally. So we have these rules. We're born, we age, time's another rule. We grow and we die. So really, what's more important to me is what do we do with the time that we have between those? And how do we, rationalize them in our brains?
How do you not have fear? Or do you have fear? What is fear to you?
Oh, of course there's fear.
I mean, you've gone across the whole world. How do you do that?
I think some people give fear a bit more of a negative rap than it deserves, or maybe they're giving it too much credit. Fear is just like it's like a heads up, I don't think fear should ever be the cause of not doing something that you want to do. To me, when I'm afraid of something, that's an indicator to me that I need to pay more attention.
Mm.
Okay. See, I did something today that made me afraid. I was going wake surfing, and I wanted to try, with the boat running, jumping off the backboard to try and start on the wave. And I'd never done it before, and so I don't know how really to do it. And, you know, you're going fast, and there's a boat you can hit your head on, and there's, you know, all this stuff going on. And, yeah, I'm afraid. However,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I'm afraid of hitting my head, put on a helmet. The rest, okay, like reduce your risk as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid, analyze the situation. This is what I like to do. Analyze the situation, find where your high risk levels are, reduce the risk as much as possible. And when you get to that point, look at your risk, look at your reward, and make a decision. Are you willing to take the risk to get the reward?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it has nothing to do actually with fear. The fear is just the indicator that says, okay, this is dangerous, make some assessments.
Yeah.
And once you make the assessment, once I make my assessment and say, okay, I've mitigated my risk to an acceptable level, I'm going to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I try to make my decisions.
I like that.
Obviously, I don't always win.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take the decision, I look at it, and I say, no way.
Yeah.
The risk is too high,
Uh-huh.
and the reward is too low.
Yeah.
So fear to me is a tool to help me take a step back and say, okay, worth it or not. Make the decision and then take the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And take the fear out of the equation. The fear is just an emotion. Thanks for checking in, fear. Appreciate your help. You don't have to do it. It's like that friend that's kind of a little bit of a weenie. It's
Yeah.
like tapping on your shoulder, being like, "Are you sure you should do that? You know, it could go really bad."
Yeah.
Yeah, but it could also go really well, man. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be fine. I'm going to take
Yeah.
it. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate your help. I'm going to go for it.
I love that. And so, like, for me, like, as someone who wants to travel the world but has such fear to do it, what would you say about that?
Well, you can always write down what you're afraid of.
Uh-huh.
Make a list. You know, maybe a bit of a tried exercise, but write down what your biggest fears are. Write down what you're excited about. And if you have a list of fears, I think first of all, what you're going to find when you start writing down what your fears is, a lot of them you can kind of be like, oh, really? Is that one of them? Huh. Okay. Well, I think that's not such a big deal, actually. These two are kind of the same thing. Okay, and then you're gonna look at the list and you're gonna be like, oh, I have like 4 key things I'm pretty afraid of. Okay, now that I know what my fears are, okay, let's see what solutions we have to those. Okay, you know, maybe I'm afraid of getting sick and being stuck in a place and not being able to get home. Okay, well, I'm gonna get some travel insurance. Okay, that'll make sure that if that happens, it'll be cost covered. I can get on a plane. I can fly home. It's money won't be a factor. Okay,
Mhm.
great. You know, maybe I'm afraid of, you know, being lonely and not making any friends. Okay, well, make sure you have enough money to buy a fucking ticket home. You know, and when you start looking at what those fears are and pulling them out away from just this kind of blob of anxiety in your chest, that is, oh, I'm afraid of this. You're not putting any name to that fear. It can seem overwhelming and like difficult to fight because it's just an amorphous black pit. But when you start pulling it out, looking at each one of them in the face and being like, no, I know you, I got you. You're stressing me out a little bit, but we'll find a solution for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get past it.
Totally. I love that. That is some really good advice. So, with that, what have you struggled with in your life in total? What is your biggest struggle? What's your rock bottom?
I'm always trying to be more patient.
Uh-huh.
Always, always, always trying to be more patient. Thing about trying to be more patient and getting more patient is, guess what? It takes patience.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. You get impatient about not being
That's
impatient.
right. That's right. So I'm always struggling with that. And I just get frustrated easily.
Mm-hmm.
I get frustrated easily, and it puts me into a version of myself that I don't really like. You know, trying to take better care of myself, be more aware, be less self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in all of my struggles, my problems, all the things that are stressing me out, how hard my life is. Always trying to remember to come back to being grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful for the things I have, the opportunities that I have.
What you've accomplished too, and what you've done.
Sure. Yeah. To me, gratitude is one of the secrets to happiness.
Totally.
Sorry, not a secret. It's a key.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm happy to share that with everyone in the world.
Yeah.
If you want to be happier, find time every day. Do it before you have dinner. Say at least one thing you're grateful for.
Yeah.
I promise you, you'll be happier.
Totally. It's one thing that I've said this before in the podcast is one thing that I can just look at and feel so much great gratitude is Schindler's List. You ever seen that movie?
Of course.
Like you watch that movie,
Liam
dude?
Neeson, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I think it is. I think it is Liam Neeson. I don't know.
Maybe.
Some actor like that, but like that movie, you just watch it and you're just like, I'm such a pussy. Why am I complaining about whatever A, B, and Z?
Right.
You know,
Right.
It's like these people went through just like that, time period in general. It's like these people went through so much. I'm complaining about not having enough Instagram likes. That's not me. I'm not about that at all. But just an example.
Sure.
What
Yeah.
is?
Amen.
Continue. Sorry.
No. I agree with you 100%. And perspective.
Totally.
And I think a big problem that I find, I think a lot of people, especially in American society, have is they find themselves looking up for comparison a lot of times.
Totally.
And when I say up, I mean that purely in a socioeconomic, monetary sense, that they are comparing themselves to someone that has more than them, or a bigger car or a fancier house or whatever. People always are looking up and using that as the bar. And they forget to look down and remember, oh shit, it could be way worse.
Totally.
Maybe I should be a little bit more generous.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be a little bit more giving. Maybe I should be a little bit more kind. Because, yeah, I don't get to have my brand new Porsche and my house on the lake. But damn it, I have a job and I have people that love me and I get to eat out a couple nights a week and
Totally.
I never worry about putting food on the table. And then you can take it to a whole nother level when you start watching Schindler's List and thinking, holy shit.
Like you said that, right? Like, at least I can eat, it's like these people, like, they didn't have, like, when I say nothing, they had literally nothing. Not even, like, the tiniest bit of clothing on their body, so it's
They didn't even have hair.
Exactly. They literally have nothing besides themselves, right? But that's another topic. It's just, I feel like we definitely live in a society where people are so ungrateful, and that's causing the downfall of a lot of things in the world. And that leads me to ask you is, like, how are countries that you've been to so different from America?
Well, there's some positives and there's some negatives.
Okay. Let's hear them.
I think Americans in general are very hardworking
Mm-hmm.
and pretty conscientious of time, especially respecting other people's time. Innovative. Um, they're always trying to, drive things forward, make things better. And all these things have their positive and negative slant to them, right? You can also say Americans are pretty money motivated. They're trying to have more. They're, trying to increase, consume more, etc., etc. But, you have to look at the fact that some of the greatest innovations in the last 100 years have come from the United States. We're also a center of music, film, art, and we do have a lot of freedoms here.
I was totally thinking about that today, honestly. Before I didn't even know you traveled at all. You know what I mean? And I was totally thinking about like that. It's like how Americans have so much freedom. We really do.
We have a lot of freedom. We have a lot of things that we're allowed to do. We have a lot of rights and a lot of safety.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's my perspective on America.
Mm-hmm.
I can already hear people saying, well, not all Americans have it like that because
Totally.
you are a white male entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So fair enough. But we're talking from my perspective, so I get to give my perspective.
Totally. This is your episode, 100% you, dog.
In other countries, I think that there's a lot more balance and focus on happiness and lifestyle. And, I've spent quite a bit of time in Mexico recently, and they have this attitude that's like, no pasa nada.
What does that mean?
The direct translation is nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more the idea. It's like hakuna matata is pretty much what it means. You like how I gave you a translation in a different language?
Yeah, that was cool. That was slick.
But that's kind of the sentiment is like, it's no worries.
Mm-hmm.
And, someone shows up 3 hours late to a meeting and they say, yeah, no pasa nada.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pissed about it because I planned my day around meeting you at 6 and it's 9 o'clock. I'm going home and I don't want to have this meeting now. But, they don't get themselves stressed about it either. And that's a positive thing and a negative thing, right? And, I think a lot of people in different countries feel pretty good about, they have their job and, they run their little store or, they do this or they do that or they go fishing every day and they have a pattern and they did it because their parents did it and they feel comfortable with that. And they spend time with their friends. They spend time with their family. They relax a lot. Makes more sense.
It really does. Me and my mom had this conversation. Like I still live with my mom, and it's not strictly because like I love my mom and want to live with my mom. There's financial stuff and COVID and all that stuff. But like we were just sitting and talking about, it's like, why is it such a stigma in America that like as soon as you're 18, you gotta get the fuck out, right? You gotta go on your own as soon as you turn 18. It's like in Mexican culture, exactly what you said. It's like they live with each other until they all die. For the most part.
Many countries around the world.
Yeah.
In fact, you live with your family until you get married.
Exactly.
And then you go off and it's time to start your own family.
Mm-hmm.
But in American culture, for whatever reason, that's not the way it is.
It's totally frowned upon. It's totally like looked at like, what is wrong with you?
And I had to battle that for a number of years too, because I was living with my parents for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But my attitude was, if you lived with my parents, you would understand why I'm living with my parents.
I mean, you live on the lake,
it's
right?
It's great.
Yeah.
And I like my parents,
Yeah.
And to me, it's like I'm not at a stage yet where I can really afford to have a house. Well, I mean, we can all make decisions. I could totally afford to live in a house by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But economically and socially, not what I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy having roommates. for a number of reasons. So, I was at the point where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have roommates anyways. And, as roommates go, my parents rock.
Yeah.
They are awesome. They always pay their bills on time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're going to outlive your parents anyways, so it's like spend the time with them now until,
right.
Until it's like with my grandma, I try to go to my grandma's house. I'm not saying I'm good at this. I'm not going to hold this up, but I try to go to my grandma's house at least like once a week. Just to like talk to her, just to see like, hey, what's going on? Because like, she's at the end of her, journey. So it's like, no one wants to die alone. And it's like, these people are not going to be around forever. And you got to love and appreciate. What'd you say? I want to know what that is so I can remember it. The Mexican.
No pasta nada.
No pasta nada. It's kind of like the same thing. It's just basically like hakuna matata, like you said. Totally. I like that.
You got to, I think you're right too. You have to. I want to try and slow down more. I've really noticed myself in a pattern of just being grumpy a lot of the time, because things aren't going my way or, they're not going the way that I want them to. But there's the grumpy sign right up there, the grumpy nameplate.
Oh yeah,
staring me at the face.
Mr. Grumpy.
Yeah, it's like yelling at me, like, you grumpy man.
Maybe it's put on there on purpose.
Dang, you grumpy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be grumpy.
No, totally. You gotta,
Maybe just pulling a little bit more of that no pasta nada into my life and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, though, I understand. It's hard to like make something and then have it not do it the way you want it to do. But that's such as life, huh?
Yeah, and the reality is, as my fiancé was telling me today, like, if you're not happy about it, stop doing it then.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, stop. Like, that's the reality is you are making the decision to keep doing it. You are the boss. So no one's holding your hand to the flame but you. Which is such a good lesson, right? If you want something, you should go get it. And if you don't like something, you should change it.
Totally.
Obviously, we all have limitations in that spectrum. But the real limitations are few and far between.
Yeah, I'd say like the real I can't say it. I can't say words. Limitations is like the social constructs that you create for yourself. Like just the rules you make for yourself are truly the only things that will hold you back. You're like, if you want to go smoke crack, what's holding you back? Go live that kind of life if that's what you want to spend 100% of your time doing. Like that's everything is on you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times, yeah, it really is.
What do you think deja vu is?
I like deja vu. First of all, what is deja vu to you?
To me, that's a big topic.
Because people say deja vu all the time, but it means different things to different people.
So before I say that, let me ask you this question then. What do you think is after death?
I try not to worry about it too much. I don't really feel that afraid of dying, so it doesn't seem like it's something bad.
Yeah, totally not.
I haven't gotten caught up in heaven and hell dichotomies. It's just way too cut and dry for
I think
some of the things
totally
I've
agree.
seen in life. I have different theories and it changes on the day. It depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I think that my molecules are going to dissolve into the world and I'm going to float around as a dust particle exploring the universe, and maybe I'm going to combine with this ultimate life force that's going to just welcome me back in, and maybe I just fade to black. Maybe I am reunited with all of my loved ones and get to live in my ultimate paradise. I guess my opinion on it is I'll find out when I get there.
I like that.
I've never, when you're getting ready to go on a trip and someone's like, "Are you super excited?" Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's like a bright spot. But I'm like excited, like tangibly and measurably excited. No, not really. I'll be excited when I get there.
Yeah. I like that. It's like present moment living almost.
Sure, and I just I think it's easier for me to do with things I'm excited about than things that I'm stressed about. I definitely do find myself falling into patterns of anxiety about future events that haven't occurred.
Yes.
And stressing because I guess maybe I'm trying to prevent them or lessen them or whatever. But I'm not super afraid of death, and so I'm not worried about it, and I figure I'll find out when I get there.
I like that. I like that. I was thinking about that, I think today, or maybe the day before, about how it's like why? Like, why even be afraid? You know, it's like you're not even there yet, and when you get there, it's gonna be for the reason, like, it's just gonna be that's part of it. You know, it's like you're gonna be there when you're ready to be there, or whatever. You know, it's basically what I'm saying is like it's just a part of the journey. So why be so against it? Just embrace it. And so when you ask me what deja vu is, you know, what I believe is after death is always changing too. And, I like to just spitball around. But one of the things I think is, well, I can tell you this that I 100% agree on with my whole heart is that it's not black, right? It's not like Finney, it's like, to me, the idea that this is like we're monkeys on a rock and we're in the vacuum of space and like you said, like molecules are gonna whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like that just is so far fetched than like like the man in the sky or the demons down below or whatever you want to believe in, Buddha, Allah, whatever. Like that's more realistic. The simulation, right? I've been thinking about the simulation recently. A little side note is like the simulation. It's like I think that there definitely is something. There's some like divine being, some divine force that like controls our lives and everything. And when people talk about the simulation and they have like simulation thoughts, it's like, well, that's how it can understand. That's how it like will tell us that we will understand because we're in the age of technology, right? It's like I forget what belief it is. I think it's Buddhism, where no, I don't think it's Buddhism, but it's like there's a belief that like we're all just the dream of like a floating giant. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, I think it's just like it's not Buddhism. It's something close to Buddhism, but it's like that's what they could only understand at their time of knowledge evolution. And now we're at the point of technology. We're at this point that the divine being can only try to convince us as like, well, it's the simulation, right? Like your computers that you've made, right? It's like that, but it's not like that. We're not a computer program. We're not a microchip in like some 40-year-old virgin's computer, right? It's something way more than that. But to tie it all together, I think deja vu is that we live our lives, whether I live as Jacob again over and over and over and over, or I live as someone else next, like you, I'll live as you next, or Hitler next, or Gandhi, or whatever. And those familiar patterns that we fall into will come up again. And deja vu tells us, like, hey, you're doing this wrong, or hey, you're doing this right. And so that's what I think deja vu is. It's kind of a lot. I usually don't spiel that much out.
Gotcha. Good. I'm glad you shared. Yeah, deja vu to me. I guess there's a similar vein inside of that for me. Deja vu always feels to me like something I've seen in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a past life is about as accurate. I always feel very nicely reassured
Mm-hmm.
when I have a sense of deja vu. Like kind of a feeling that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Um, yeah, I guess what I think about as I go through life is I every day want to try and bring as much positivity into my day as possible and share that as much as I can with the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so especially if I'm doing something good and positive and I get that feeling of deja vu, I feel better.
Totally.
Something from a dream, something from a guardian angel telling me that it's where I'm supposed to be, or maybe I've lived it before and here we are again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have the thought that's like, okay, well, if I'm reliving this same sequence over and over again, I haven't gotten to a new point yet, so I guess keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm winning. And hopefully, when I get to that pivot point or that juncture in the road that I haven't been to before, or where I've made the wrong decision, I'll be in a better state to make the right decision this time.
I like it. I like that. Got any alien or ghost stories?
Not really.
Not really?
Not really.
You've been around the whole world and you haven't seen any ghosts or anything like that?
I saw a really nasty creature at one point.
What was that?
It's not a story I like to go into. I'm gonna keep that one in the dark. It's it's just not a positive story.
Okay. You don't have to.
Do I have any like tangible, like nice ghost stories? I'm sure I've had definitely some moments where someone's been looking out for me.
Uh-huh.
My mom definitely has a friend that helps her find lost jewelry. My sister's godmother died when my sister was pretty young. Margot Hemingway. And whenever my mom loses jewelry, she always asks Margot for some help, and invariably it seems to pop up somewhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So maybe there's something going on there, but I don't think that the U.S. is actually a very good place for those sorts of experiences. I think there's not a lot of I don't know, maybe we're farther away from the like portals to those places, or there's just not so much belief in the culture, and so all of that stuff is repressed. But I think that I definitely felt much more, much closer to like spiritual, like energy when I was down in like Peru or over in India. I think part of that is just a cultural belief in those places that those things are real, and so maybe the spirits feel more welcome, or
Totally.
who knows. You ever seen the movie Spirited Away?
No.
Oof, one of my all-time favorite movies, but you should make sure to watch it.
I will. I'll put it in my movie list.
Spirited Away.
What's it about?
It's an anime movie.
Okay.
It is about a girl who enters into the spirit world by accident and needs to rescue her parents, who have been transformed due to their gluttony. Strange like synopsis of the movie.
Yeah, a little sounds fitting though for anime, huh?
But it's just artistically magical beautiful soundtrack, amazing imagery, and like it's whimsical, which is one of my favorite words, and my favorite themes. It's just a whimsically beautiful movie.
I like that. I like that word. That's a good word.
It's one of my favorites. It's kind of an underutilized word in the English language.
Yeah.
I think I got about 5 more minutes.
All right. So let me ask you this. What do you want your future to be 10 years from now?
It's a great question.
You're going to get married? Any kiddos? Future endeavors with your entrepreneurship? Music?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years. They say that humans are really like they under predict what they can do in 10 years, but over predict what they can do in 3 years.
That's so true.
So I guess I'm on the wrong side of that. I'm going to make under predictions. Because I don't find myself to be above the masses in most things. I'd still like to do a lot of traveling. I'd like to live in another country for a year or 2, maybe 3. And I think that the point for that's coming pretty soon. I think immigration is going to be a real pain in the ass for my fiancé. She's an Italian woman. So I think we're going to go live someplace else. And I haven't quite hit the point where I'm ready to dive off, but, I would happily sell my business if I had the right offer at this moment. And I guess that's something I'm trying to manifest right now and bring into being, is find a nice exit strategy for my company that I built. And yeah, I'd like to move to another country. It's always been a goal of mine long term to be a diplomat. I've always wanted to be an ambassador.
Totally.
And in about 10 years, it's kind of time, I always thought maybe in my 40s or 50s, it would be a good time to start looking at that.
Yeah, I love it.
So, always just keeping that on the back of my mind. I think I've been talking with my fiance about what we're going to do when we move to a foreign country. And I think I'm going to do some teaching, probably. I want to do more scuba diving. I think we're going to go someplace tropical, and maybe I'll get my dive master certification and take people on scuba dive trips.
Beautiful.
And I'm always working on some little project and playing with some ideas. So, businesses will come and they'll go. And I think getting this first one, it'd be great to put an end to it, I guess, to like finish the chapter and have a successful exit, because that'd really make me feel like, sweet, did it.
Yeah.
And I think when you finish something successfully, it just imbues you with so much more confidence to go forward to the next one and the next one and the next one, which is really about, what being an entrepreneur is about, right? Is keep trying.
Totally. So one last question for you. Everything you've been through, struggles, trials, tribulations, what advice can you give the world, or my 10 podcast listeners?
What up, 10 listeners? About to drop some wisdom on you.
Please.
Be grateful. Be kind. Take a deep breath. Be happy. And find what you need to do to be happy and make yourself happy. No one's going to do it for you.
Totally.
And it's going to come from yourself. don't forget to laugh.
Don't forget to laugh.
Fun should always be high on the list. Fun is first is what my dad would say.
Fun is first. I like it.
And yeah, that's definitely, we have two family mottos in my family. One is family first, or fun is first. Probably family first, then fun is first.
Yeah, two firsts.
That's right. I think family first comes from my mom. Fun is first comes from my dad. And I do what I want.
Do what I want.
I do what I want, which can be taken the wrong way, but you should do what you want.
Totally. You only get one life. You only have 80 years, roughly. Why spend? Or here's a quote that I like. No matter, and you can totally relate to this, okay? No matter what you do in life, you are going to fail. So fail at doing what you love.
Amen.
Amen. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to follow my social media accounts for news and updates on future episodes. Links will be down below.